All right, we're back with another video today. What we're going to be doing is reviewing calculators. Now, the first thing that probably comes to mind is why all the calculators? Well, if anybody is involved with engineering or mathematics, you know that you'll probably have a collection of calculators after going through the process or being in the middle of the process. So why so many calculators? Well, the foremost reason is because most classes will dictate what kind of calculator you have to use. Now, these are going in the order from the most basic to the most advanced. Only certain calculators are permitted in certain courses. So on the lower end, we have our scientific calculators, which is actually these four. And then on this end, we have graphing calculators, which can do a lot more than just graphing. We'll talk about that later. And I'll talk about which ones I prefer and I use the most. But again, I want to cover also why I have them in the first place and why I keep them also. With the exception of one, which I'm going to sell. There's one which I'm going to sell pretty soon here, and I'll tell you why. Before I do that, let's turn them all on so you might be able to get a good sense of what they look like. Okay. See if we can get rid of some of that glare there. There we go. Okay. So this thing is getting booted up. And push that. All right. So they're all on right now. The ones on the lower half, you probably can't see them too well. There's not much that they display, so you won't be able to see that. But on this end, you should be able to see the displays here. It looks kind of bright, but in any case. So if we start from the lower end, again, the reason why I have these is because they're basically course specific, and the reason why I keep them is because I still do tutoring, so I still teach lower level classes that might need the use of some of these calculators. And in fact, this one here, this third one, is one I actually just got in today that I'm actually pretty excited about because I'm tutoring a student in statistics, and one of the things I set out to do in preparing to tutor that student was to find a calculator that would befit the course for us both to use during tutoring. And this is the one I chose. It's a Casio. Two of these are Casios. There's a Casio here, which is a scientific calculator, and a Casio here, which is a graphing calculator. This is Casio's, I think it's Casio's one of if it's not the most advanced, it's one of their most advanced models. And this is the Texas Instruments most advanced model. This is the Inspire, okay? If anybody's familiar with calculators, you know, that might be familiar to you. So Casio, the Texas Instruments, and there's HP also has a high-level calculator that is kind of mirrors these two in its functionality. Okay. So again, why do I keep these? First, I'll talk about the courses that I've used these in. Okay. So this first one I haven't used that much. I actually used this one when I was teaching. Okay. So when I was teaching algebra, this is one that I used. Aside from that, you'd be able to use this calculator here. I'll pick it up, I think, here. So you'll be able to use this calculator here for something like algebra. You could use it for statistics, though I think the Casio is better. And you could use it for trigonometry, okay? You could also use it for like a chemistry course or some kind of science course like that. The functions it has on it, if we can see them. So it has all your trigonometric functions. It has your log. You know, it's a scientific calculator, so they're mostly going to have all the same things. But the thing that really will dictate which one you want to use will be the access to certain buttons. So this has like a sum key that's already there. It has an EE key that's already there. It can do permutations and combinations, which is nice, but that's on a shift key. Okay, so it has to do with accessibility. So in comparison, let's say this Casio I just got, which is one of the reasons why I got it and why I like it so much. First of all, it's a really cheap calculator, and it's actually, I'll tell you right now, not to give everything away, but you'll get it seems to be, in my most recent experience, that you get actually the most bang for your buck with Casios as opposed to Texas Instruments. Okay. Again, not to go too far into what we're going to review here, but just for an example, just to prove how that's the case, this Inspire, which is one of the highest levels, and when I say highest levels of calculators, so calculators typically, when they get to the higher end, they're going to have multiple functions. So you should be able to do finance, you should be able to do statistics, you should be able to do graphing. It'll have other kind of models in there like geometry, all these kind of things. It'll have a lot of extras. These two share that in common. And again, this is also the higher end of the Casio. But economically, this calculator, the Inspire, is actually twice the cost of the Casio. Okay, so this Casio is almost it's about, I think about like $40 cheaper, I want to say, right now. But if you find things on sale sometimes, like I think I got this for like $70 less than I got this Inspire. This Inspire is like a $120 calculator. Okay, this is only like I believe it's like around $80. Okay, so and this and the Texas Instruments pales in comparison to the Casio. This Casio is, I mean, I couldn't say enough about it. It's amazing the amount of stuff. Not that only the amount of stuff that it can do, but just it's this usability, right? We'll talk about that a little bit later. But again, one of the things that you want to pay attention to when you're getting a calculator is the access to, the most common buttons that you're going to use. So one of the things, as I was talking about earlier, is going to be, let's say, fractions. Typically, when you're getting into more advanced math and you're going to try to do less arithmetic, and eventually you're going to start to want to stop not do fractions by hand. So you're going to want a calculator that's really friendly towards fractions. And this is the way in which this calculator here fails, in a sense, because it does not. It's only a one-line calculator. If you see the screen, this is only one line. If you look at the rest of these, they have wider screens. That means they're either 2 or maybe even 3-line calculators. Could be even more, depending on the setting. Okay, and these are obviously basically infinite. Okay, these are infinite. You can scroll here. Like I can see the stuff I did probably in the last 3 days or something on this calculator, so it goes and goes and goes. Okay, the same thing for the Inspire, and of course you can save all that and do all that kind of thing, but this is only a single line calculator, which is why it's not as desirable for a lot of things, again, especially when you're dealing with fractions, but it'll get you through. Now number 2, this is the one. Let me think about. I use this for, I want to say I use it for pre-calculus and trigonometry. Okay, and the reason why this was better, this is the TI-36X 2S, and this is the TI-36X. Okay, so this is the big brother basically to this one here. And again, the reason why this one is more advanced is basically because it's a 2-line calculator. So if I turn this on here, I can illustrate this for you. We see that in this calculator, if you put something into it, you can see the math that you put in, but then you can also see the answer, right? So there's 2 lines here. So that becomes helpful. The other thing you can do with this is you can do fractions. So there's a fraction button, and you can do that fractions, and you can also convert mixed numbers. Okay, So there's a button here, and you can convert your mixed numbers like that. You can convert your decimals, of course, which they should all have that function. But that's the main reason why you would want the TI-36X2S, okay? Because this is like your first in the Texas Instrument line. This is like the first introduction to a two-line calculator. Is what this is going to be. I want to say this calculator is probably like $10 or something. This might be like 15 or 17 or something like that. You know, so they're both very inexpensive. But here's the one I got today, which is just lovely. Again, I don't have that much experience. Any experience with it. I just got it today. But having experience with calculators and looking at the usability of this one, it's really nice. I believe, I want to say it's probably like a 3-line. It looks like it scrolls as well, though, so it's hard to even say that because I think it scrolls, so it can really hold a good number of lines on this calculator. So it has a wider interface, and this is only a user interface, and this is only a $10 calculator. This is, again, what I said about the Casios. Now, I don't know what people's relationships with Casios are. I'm not sure about the history of the Casio company. You know, again, me coming from music, I always associate Casio with keyboards and more musical instruments, electronic keyboards and things like that, than I do their calculators, even though I know their calculators have been in existence for a while as well. I don't know which one came first, but after getting this calculator, which is a Casio, and, you know, having used Texas Instruments for most of my life and then switching to the Casio, I mean, I was missing out on the Casio, okay? And again, that's not just because of the usability, but it's also because of, you know, the price. So you get so much more for your dollar with the Casio. Again, like the stuff they put in this calculator here is incredible compared to what the Texas Instrument does. You know, so this is kind of like Macintosh, and this is like Windows 11, okay? Just to give you like a comparison. Now, this is supposed to be like, this is almost like a computer. Like this one has even a mouse on it. It has a mouse pad here that you can scroll. So if you probably can't see it oh, yeah, you can't see it right there. So this even has a mouse pad. So it's very much computer-like in a sense. But it's not very fast. It's kind of slow, and it just has a really kind of antiquated feel on it. You know, it reminds me of, again, like a young computer, like a Macintosh or something. You know, an older operating system is what this feels like. And this is like, you know, an operating system here just as good as any modern computer is what this feels like. Okay. But this Casio in my hand, which is the FX-300ES. Now this is the FX SG50. Okay, so FX seems to be a designator for the Casio lines that they use. So the FX-300ES Plus, which it's solar powered as well. I think it has a little battery in there, but it's solar powered, so that's a good thing to note. This one is too as well. That's another reason why this Texas Instruments would fail too. The 30XA is because it's not solar powered. Okay, so we have these that are solar powered, which is good. But again, the reason why is why I got this calculator specifically for a statistics a student. And again, one of the selling points, the major selling points, was that this could hold a lot of lines. So if I can show you here. Just with my little experience with this calculator, I'm fairly aware that this is how you get to the statistics page, okay? And you can pick, and now you see we have regressions, one variable, usually that's what we're doing to put in our variables, and then you have a table here. And look, I can put in, it shows you 3 lines initially, but I'm just putting in random numbers in here. And it seems like you can put an infinite amount. Okay, so I'm up to 15. Now 30, 34, 40. So it seems infinite. The amount of variables that you can put into a table. Oh, maybe it's not. No, it's not infinite. So it goes up to. It looks like it only goes up to 40. Okay. So it goes up to 40, which is actually, I mean, that's fine. That's probably just enough, or as much as you're going to do in a general statistics class. So it goes up to 40, and then you can scroll and you can change and edit that if you need to. And then what happens is you press AC again, and then you go to Shift, and then you press 1, which is the stat key, and then I believe, let's see, we go to type. Now let me go to data. No, that's the data. Okay, I go to variable, and all the information I put in that table will be computed when I go to the variable tab on the statistics button. And then right now I'm going to hit a standard deviation. Let's see if we can get a standard deviation for those numbers that I put in. And it's 16.809. Okay, so that's a little glimpse of how this thing works for statistics. Again, I haven't used this. I'm not very experienced with this one. I just got it today, but it just looked, as far as when I did some searching and looked for an inexpensive calculator that would have been good for statistics, this is the one that I found and I chose. Also because, again, it can do a lot. It has, for another reason, it has the arrow button, which this one has too, so that means you can scroll, which is nice. But this screen is just a little bit bigger, and it holds a little bit more information here. It also has a true, you can actually do, oh, it's still in statistics. Let me change this here. Mode. Okay, so if I go to math here, you can also get an actual fraction when you put in the fraction symbol. It has its own keypad for the fraction symbol, which I love. That's basically like, you know, a must-have for any calculator that I'm going to use. Anything that, if I say, oh yeah, this is a great calculator, part of what I'm saying is it has a fraction tab. Again, this can do fractions as well, but it just gives you a little bar because the screen is not, it's just not big enough, I guess, to hold that. Okay, so it gives you a little bar in between, but it's not a true fraction where you have a numerator and denominator. So if you see this here, you can put something in the numerator, and then you press the down arrow, and then you put a number in the denominator, and then you get your answer. Okay, that's something I love. And again, the accessibility, it gives you access to a lot of the most common keys that you're going to use. The fraction key, you have your square root, you have your square, you have your cubed root there, you have all your logs. Okay, you have a log with a base function, which is nice. You have your fraction to decimal button here. You have your engine. This is something I did earlier, which I think I like a lot. Let's see if I can do this here. So if you just press ENG, which is the engineering button, then it'll put it to times 10 to the third, and then it'll put it to 0, and then times 10 to the negative third. Okay, so it just cycles. You can cycle that, which is, I think, is a pretty cool function. Most calculators, they have it to where, you know, you have to press separate buttons and all this, but this is, or you have to change the setting. This, you can just cycle through that button, and it gives you a different scientific reading for it every time you press, which I like. This one also does permutations and combinations. It has all your trigonometric functions. And it seems to have, it has an alphabet too. Okay, which I believe, yes, see, this does not have. Yeah, so this has an alphabet. Again, this is a $10 calculator. I want to say this is like 15 or 17. This has an alphabet and this does not. Again, Casio seems to come through when it comes to functionality. And I'm sure as I use it more, I'll find more things about it. Look at this. It also has absolute value. Okay, it has the actual bars for absolute value. Okay, so the absolute value of negative 14. Okay, cool. You know, so I love that it can do things like that. Like it displays all the information in a true sense, you know, just like it would. And again, as I said, well, you know, you have your parentheses here, which that one has a parentheses here too, so no big deal. But again, you know, just very, very nice functions that this thing has. So I think I'm going to enjoy this one during my statistics tutoring sessions. Definitely something I would recommend if you're looking for a cheap calculator that's going to be something that you would probably use you know, throughout the span of your ownership of it. So now we'll get into the fourth calculator. Now this one is a Texas Instruments. It's the TI-36X Pro. I've messed around with it a little bit. This calculator actually does calculus. So it has an integral button and a derivative button. Okay. So if we press the derivative, look at this. It has a derivative button. You can get the derivatives right there. And it has an integral button as well. Okay. And probably some other things. I haven't, look, it has vectors, it says, complex. You can do quite a lot with this calculator. The only reason why I didn't use this, I could have used this. I don't know if it does statistics very well at all. So it has systems of equations, it has a polynomial solver, complex, all these kind of things. Data for stats. Okay, so one variable, let's see. Okay. So I'm not sure how it wants me to select that. But in any case, let me see this. Okay. So see, this is why I want it to be for stats. So this is the table that it gives you. And it's not a big deal. It's just a preference, you know, depending on how things are displayed. So this is displayed for your table. Let's see, yeah. Oh, there was one. Oh, maybe it does have a table. Okay, there's your table there. So that's a nice table. Okay. And it counts the lines. That's cool. Let's just see for comparison's sake how many lines this can do. So the last one could only do 40. Oh, this is going up to 42. Okay, so this can do 42 lines for your statistics. Oh, let's see. Let me just make sure it can. Yeah, so it can do 42 lines for your statistics. Okay, so definitely a competitor for this Casio here in a sense. But the only reason I have this, I was going to say, I like the feel of the buttons on this calculator. If you've noticed with the functions on it, again, with the polynomials, the polynomial solver, the systems of equation solver, complex numbers, vectors, the integral calculus, and the derivatives, the matrices, it has a matrix here solver, it has, I think it has a whole, you know, it has equation solvers and all this thing. The only reason I have this calculator, actually, it's not one that I use. The only reason I have this, and part of the reason why I don't use this is because it wouldn't be permitted in a course anyway, right? Because it has integrals and it can do calculus on it. But aside from that, the only reason why I have this actual calculator, this is actually a very special calculator. So this is the calculator that's used and authorized for the FE, for the Fundamentals of Engineering exam in North America. Okay, so that is the reason why I have this calculator. It's specifically for that exam and really nothing else. Okay, so maybe there might come a time where I'm in a course that I could use this, but otherwise it's just here for me to get familiar with for the fundamentals of engineering tests. Okay, so now we can push these aside. So I think, well, let's just review again. So what are my two favorites here? The ones I think that are best here, I would say the Casio FX-300, and then following that would be the TI-36. But again, this is kind of a specialty case. It's used for a certain test. Like I said, I don't know of any courses where I could even use this. But if there comes one that I could use it in, then I guess I would use it. I definitely want to get more familiar with it. I do like the feel of this calculator, and I like the feel of the buttons. And it's just, and you can tell, it's a very practical calculator. This is I very much understand and see why they would use this for the fundamentals of engineering, for a test that's more practical, or for a situation that was more practical. I could definitely see myself doing engineering work with this calculator as opposed to some of the other ones here, just because of the accessibility of some of the functions. But definitely the Casio, my favorite scientific calculator right now. So let's start the major comparison here, which is going to be the TI Inspire and the FX CG50 from Casio. Again, I think I already gave it away earlier. And actually, let's go to the menu. So this is that menu, and this is that menu. Let's just go. So again, these are competing calculators, and it might not be obvious at the onset why the Casio is superior, but we're going to take a look at this one and figure out why pretty soon here. If you look at the menu, if I can go back to the menu here. No, not like that. No. Now this one does files and stuff like that. It does files, which is nice. Like I said, it's very reminiscent of a computer in that way. But so it has a calculator tab. So you have your calculator. And this is what it documents, right? So you can save files like documents and current. You can browse this thing. One thing I love about this calculator, and one of the things that motivated me to buy it, was that it has a USB port that you can charge it from. So that's basically how you charge this. So this is chargeable through a USB port. This is one right here. You probably can't see it well. The camera's not focusing, but there it is. That is where you charge it from. So that's something I like about this calculator. I do like the mouse on it, but I feel like it's, I don't want to say a gimmick, but I don't know. I mean, it's like, do I use it that much? I don't use this calculator that much in general, but do you use the mouse that much? I feel like for the way it functions, you don't really have to use the mouse that much. So it has the calculator tab, then the graphing tab, geometry tab. It has spreadsheets you can do on here, statistics, data, notes you can put on here, and then it has like a data quest. I'm not sure what that is, but it only has what? It only has 7 functions. Okay, which I was surprised about. It only has these 7 functions. For this being TI's leading calculator, I'm very surprised that it only has 7 functions. The other thing I like about this calculator, let's talk about something that I like about it, is that it has a keypad down here, which I think is pretty cool. So it has the whole alphabet right here at the bottom of it, okay? Which I like that a lot. But the reason why I don't like it is because of the limited operations that you can do on here, and also for the fact that it's just kind of slow. It's kind of slow and clunky when you actually use it to do stuff. Okay, The other thing I don't like about it, so remember when I told you about that, about the fraction symbol? On this calculator, you have to hit control, and you know it's a sub button of the division symbol. So the division symbol's there. Division symbol's there, and then if you want to get the fraction, which it's not focusing, so you probably can't see that. Okay, if you want to get the fraction, you have to hit control and then hit the division button, then you get the control, and then you get the fraction. Which, again, it makes it, when you're doing fractions, it's not as accessible on the rest of these calculators. Even on the lower end of these calculators, just like this one and the Casio, it has a fraction button already there as a primary button. It's not a sub. So that's one thing I found annoying about using this, again, for being a high, and also being a high-end calculator that also has a whole keypad with the with all of your with your whole alphabet. It could stand to have, you know, the fraction button out there. The next thing is some of the other variables, you see. So with this whole alphabetic keypad here, what you sacrifice is having a lot of different variables hidden in the calculator. So you have to press this pi button here. This pi button here is going to actually take you to I for complex. It's going to take you to the infinity symbol. It's going to take you to E. It's going to take you to theta. It's going to take you to a degree sign. Okay, so it's going to take you to a prime sign. All right, so all that stuff, a lot of that stuff, like for instance the pi symbol, E, even theta. I think theta is a sub button on this one. Some of those symbols are usually primary buttons on most calculators, and for this one you have to go into a menu basically and get into it. Though of course, you know, the menu is quite accessible. One thing I do like about this one, again, it's huge. It has a big screen, and it's just, this is a document basically. So it looks at this calculator, which is kind of unique. It looks at everything as a document. So when you open the calculator, it says doc, and this is like a new document. And basically when you're doing math in here, you're basically just you're basically writing in a document. Okay, and you could save this document. The trig functions are not displayed outright. See, so you have to press the trig function, the trig button, and then you have all your trig functions there. Okay. Another thing which I'm not so keen on, I feel like, again, a calculator, advanced calculator, should have that stuff out in the open. It does have the E button here, but that's the one with the exponential function. Yes, so that's the one with the exponential function. So again, you know, I would feel a calculator that's more advanced. You see that? So you can brighten up the screen. I guess that's kind of cool. You can brighten up the screen with one of the sub buttons here. So I think a calculator that's advanced like this should have some of these buttons just outright. But one of the reasons why, the primary reason why it doesn't, is because it sacrifices a lot of those primary buttons that you have on most calculators for this keypad. You know, in the beginning, I thought, okay, it's really cool to have the keypad there, but then when you see what you're losing, it's kind of like, I could go without the keys. Because in reality, how often do you use all these variables? You know, usually not that much. That goes into my next point about it, though. The reason why you would have all those variables, and it's likely the reason why they did that, is because this is not just the ordinary Inspire. This is the one that has the CAS operating system on there. So if anybody's not familiar with the CAS operating system, what the CAS operating system is it's actually a system that enables you to be able to do equations. So you can do equations on this calculator, okay, which coming from this one here doesn't sound like a big deal because this one can do equations too, which is kind of funny. I think this is like a $25 calculator, the one for the FE exam. This one can do equations. But one of the things that one of the major selling points about this one is that it has a CAS system that can do equations. And this is when I use this. I never use this in a course. I would never use it in a course because it can do equations, and they're not going to allow you to use this in a course. The reason why I have this is because I used this when I was teaching and coming up with tests and exams and quizzes and all that stuff, because it gave me the ability to create equations and then just be able to solve them very quickly through the equation solver, and then that's it. So that's the primary reason why I have this calculator. But after getting this Casio, I no longer need it, and that's why I am in the market to sell it here. And again, the reason for that is because this Casio is just amazing, and it doesn't make any sense. Again, like this is a calculator that is $40, sometimes if there's a discount, even cheaper. So it's $40 less or more, or it's $40 less than this one or more if it's on a discount than that Inspire. And the functionality you get with it is just incredible. So the first button it has here, let's see if that shows up. The first button it has here is the matrix and calculating button. Then number 2 is statistics. Then it has an e-activity. I'm not sure what that is. Then we have a spreadsheet here. Then we have graphs. Then we have a dynograph. Then we have tables. Then we have recursions. Then we have conic graphs. Then we have equations. So this one has an equation solver on it as well. This is also full color. That's the other thing too. This one hit big. It's supposed to be, a big hit because it's in color. This one's in color too, and the colors on this one are more brilliant, much more brilliant than they are on the Inspire. Like I said, this is like Macintosh something. This is like Windows 11 over here. So then we have a program tab. Then we have a finance tab. Then we have an Econ 4 tab, which I'm not sure even what that is. It seems to have something to do with with data logging. Something, again, something for computers and data logging. Link, so I believe that's when you can link this thing to a computer. Yeah, that's when you can link it to with your USB. Then you can go into your memory. Okay, then it has a system tab. Then it has Python, so it helps you somehow. This can help you some way with doing coding. Somehow, I'm not sure if you download code on it or what it does. Maybe it checks code, something to that effect. Again, I'm not, I just took a computer science course, but I didn't use the calculator for it, so I don't know exactly what that does. But it's there, so it's there. It can do it has functions for computer coding, functions for data distribution. I am familiar with that. Use this one. So this is one I actually used. I used this one in trigonometry, and I used it in statistics. Okay, so very familiar with the distribution button, and it's nice. It draws really nice graphs. If you see that there, this is one reason why I love it, is because it just gives you like real world graphics that you'd see, like, I don't know, on an Excel spreadsheet, something that's just like computer generated. It very much gives you that kind of look. So that was a binomial. We can do a normal distribution. I'll show you what that looks like. So this is pretty cool. See, it draws the curve and then it shades it. I mean, how cool is that? Let me do that one more time so you see that. So if I hit the distribution button, it's going to draw the line and then it shades. Look at that. I mean, and then it has some of the information here with your standard deviation, your mean and all that. So, I mean, it's just awesome, and it'll do the same thing. I won't do it now because just for the sake of time, but it'll do the same thing in the graphing function. But before I go on with that, I was showing you the items here. So it has geometry, then it has a picture plot, then it has 3D graph, then it has Physium, which is really cool. I'll show you that in a second. And then it has a probability sim, which is like a card game where it shows you probabilities. You know, it's a simulation of probabilities. I'll show you the Physium in a second. Let me just go to the graph and see if I have anything in the table that I can graph and show you. There is something. You hit draw and it'll draw the line there. But you can do tons of stuff. So it goes up to, like, look at this. You can keep going. You can have up to 20 different lines that you can graph all at the same time. And then when you hit draw, it'll draw all those lines on the graph in a different color. Okay, so all of these are depicted in a different color. Okay, so the 20 was black, 19 is pink, 18 is green, 17 is red, 16 is blue, 15 is black again. So we have a different color. It shades the color of your lines, which I think is awesome. You know, so this is why I appreciate it, because it's not just, oh, it has a color display, but they're actually using those colors to make it easier to interpret what's on the calculator, which I think is awesome. Okay, now let me show you something here. This is also why I think this calculator is just incredible, is because it does things. It has things inside of it, within it, that are just like, you know, who would have thought? So if I go on the Physium tab, what this has, it has a periodic table. It has a periodic table in the calculator, within the calculator. Look at this. Look at that. Look at, I mean, like, what's going on in life. Like, come on, man. Come on. It has a periodic table, and look, you can go over the elements and it shows you. You can go over the elements and it shows you. Look at this. Let me see if I can hold that. Look at this. You go over the element and it gives you the information of that element. I mean, and then look at this. Look at this. If you click on the element, look, I clicked on tungsten, and it will show you a picture of what tungsten is often used for, which is filament in a light bulb. I mean, what? Oh, I mean, and look at this. It'll show you the weight. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this, and it'll even verbalize this. Used in incandescent light bulb filaments. Right there. I mean, what? Let's go. Look at this. I mean, it's just, I mean, if you wanted to find something out, I mean, I've never nerded out on it in this way, but iron, it has a picture of the Eiffel Tower. It says used in steel tower structures. I mean, look at this. Selenium, used in photosensitive drums of copy machines. And look at the picture of the copy machine. This is what I know you guys can't look at that. Look at the definition on that. Like, that is, like I said, it's like a computer. It comes out just like you would see on your computer. The display doesn't struggle to show its information. Is one of the reasons why I like this. You know, like I said, the resolution on it is just incredible. I mean, it gets me, and it's just like, you could say this is the other thing I appreciate about this, is that this is not just some kind of cute little feature. Like, you could really use this, like, when you're working. You could really use this in a lab in a practical manner, you know, where you didn't have to have a bunch of different pieces of paper and all that, because you have your periodic table within the calculator that you're using. I mean, It's ridiculous. And then, this is really what I wanted to show you, not even that, but in the Physium tab below that, it has the fundamental constants of physics. Okay? So you have the universal constants, you have electromagnetics, you have atomic and nuclear, physiochemical, adopted values, and my drawer. I don't know what my drawer is. I don't know what that, maybe something that you input yourself. But look at this. So you can get all the constants, the universal constants are right here in the calculator. Let me see if it's coming up. All the universal constants are right here in the calculator. I mean, again, how cool is that? Electromagnetics, right here in the calculator. Atomic, right here in the calculator. It's just, you know, I just can't say how cool that is to have a calculator that's not, you know, I remember, you know, in high school, you have the TI-84, and it's just like, people thought it was cool. You could play games on there. This is why I think this is cool. It's like, that's not it's actually doing something with it's actually doing something with its capabilities of the color. You know, the color and the contrast is a lot of the reason why, and the resolution is a lot of the reason why they're able, and the memory and all that, but there's a lot of reason why they're able to show this kind of information, right? This gives them the ability to show things in contrast, which enables it to show a variety of information, and it's not used in some kind of silly sense. It's used in a very practical sense. Then we can go to the probability simulator, which I don't know how useful this is, but I guess it could be seen as kind of interesting. So basically here, you just do random things. I mean, I don't know if you might be able to manipulate it, but it's just like, this is like a coin toss, and it's just, it'll categorize, it'll show you the probability of your coin toss. So you toss the coin. Okay, and then I guess it'll graph it. You can see the graph of the likelihood of tosses. But, you know, I don't know why any of that would be relevant. You know, I think it's just, it seems to be just a simulator. I guess you can put the amount of attempts. Okay. It seems to be just a simulator. Maybe someone could find some use in that, but I mean, it's not like something that I don't think you'd use if you're doing probability in statistics class. When I did probability in statistics, I used this calculator, but I didn't use that function. I don't think it has any practical utility in that sense. And let me show you the picture plot just for the sake of it. So look at this. So this picture plot, what this thing can do is, which is insane in a lot of ways. In a lot of ways it's insane. I haven't gone this far into it. I haven't used this function, but because usually I do things by hand, and you know, but this calculator basically gives you the ability to upload pictures on it, and then you can put it in a graph, and you can put, you know, you can put calculations on there, you can put measurements on there and all that within a picture that you download onto the calculator. You can basically plot on a picture that you download on the calculator. So when I say that this thing is superior to this one, I mean, I think you guys understand why. It's just amazing the kind of things that it does. I only have there are two complaints about the Casio. This should be USB rechargeable, but it's not. I have rechargeable batteries in it, and that's how I use it, but it just has, I think it's 4 AA batteries. It's either 3 or 4 AA batteries, which last for a really long time. It has, the battery consumption is really good on that. But again, you know, I think at this level, and you can connect it to a computer, it does have the USB, but you know, the thing is, it should be rechargeable in my estimation for at this level, you know. The other thing about this, the other thing I don't like about this, and it might be, I don't know, it might be nitpicky, you guys tell me, you know, what you think, but I don't think it is at all, really. It's just, it's the only flaw that I found in it. It's one, that it's not rechargeable, you know, internally, and then the second one is that these buttons are extremely sensitive. So with this calculator, when you pick it up, you turn it on. Okay, anytime you touch it, you turn it on. The buttons are overly sensitive, which is one thing I don't like about it. It doesn't take a lot of pressure at all to hit a key on here. Now, some might say, why does that bother you? Well, the main problem with that is that when you're doing math, all you have to do is graze over a key, and just like I did there, you see I hit 5 and I hit it, I try to hit 5 once and I hit it 3 times. Okay, that's what I'm talking about. So these keys are extremely sensitive. I hit 4 and I hit it 4 times. The keys are 3 times. You know, these keys are extremely sensitive to the point where you're going to find yourself oftentimes, you know, doing things that you didn't intend to do. So you have to be careful and watch your syntax and how you're inputting things on this calculator. And also you have to make sure that you didn't turn it on and off by accident, because if this is sitting on your desk, you know, and your elbow just grazes it ever so, or your hand just grazes it, you know, or you put your hand on it, it's just, there it is, it turns on. You see what I mean? It's very easy to get this thing to turn on because the buttons are so sensitive. That's really the biggest thing. The other thing, I think that's actually, I would not mind the batteries, it not having the internal battery pack and being rechargeable. I would take that over the keys being as sensitive as they are. That is the only annoying thing or only downfall I see about this calculator. But there is our suite. So if you're on the market for a calculator, I tell you right now, you already know my recommendations. But it's definitely going to be, the Casio here and the Casio here. So, and you know, to put it in perspective, aside from, you know, the TI that would use for your fundamentals of engineering, if you're going that route and if that's what you're doing, but aside, if you're not an engineering student, you're just a math student or what have you, this is algebra, trigonometry, statistics, and this is basically everything else. You know, this is you know, life after all that. Another thing I want to mention about this is that this can also do equations. Okay, so don't sell this thing short. This is why I was kind of befuddled when I was like, man, I paid, you know, $150 or $120 for this calculator because it was so special that it could do equations. It has the equation solver, you know, it has the CAS system, like they call it. This one does equations just fine. This one does equations. It can do all kind of things. It has this it can do all kind of things. I didn't go into here, but it has a math button. Let me see. Just to hit this real quick. So if you go on the math button, if you see this, let's see if it can. So if you see that it has your log, it has absolute values, it has derivatives, second derivatives, it has an integral function, it has a sum function. So if you hit the integral function, then it has it just like that. I mean, it does tons of math. You can do again, this is why I feel like this has a very practical element to it, because you can even do, let's see here. I think I have to press option. If I press option, you can see it has calc, a calc option, and it has a statistics option where you can actually do, this is also what's cool about this calculator, is that you can do things like, this is the calculator function, right? This is for calculating and for matrices. But you can do statistics within this if you just go to a different function, and you can actually do, you know, it has your standard deviation button, so you don't have to go straight to the tables and do it through the statistics button. You can do it also through the plain calculator. So that's cool. The other option is that this thing can also do probability, and it can, let's see if I can find it here. Math, no, it's in options here. Options, not complex. Numeric maybe. So we can do, there's a place in here where you can find, there's a place in here where it'll do conversions for you, which is pretty cool, especially on an engineering front. When I say conversions, I mean like, I don't know, you know, like feet to centimeters and all that kind of thing. It can do conversions right there on the calculator page. Oh, convert, it's right there. So you can do lengths. You can do lengths there, and it has a table, so everything here. It has 2 pages. So your metric and imperial. Then it has your area. You can do area. It can do volume. So tablespoons, quarts, pints, cups. And it can do time. Okay. Even mass. Okay, so it has mass. It can do force. So you can change your force. It's incredible. Temperature. It has temperature conversion. It can do pressure. It can do energy. So calories. They can do power. It's just an awesome calculator, and definitely one that would be friendly to you if you're like doing even like actual work in the field. That's the thing. I don't really look at this. This is my main calculator. This is not a calculator I use for a course. This is just my go-to calculator for everything. Because it's all around so great. It has more functions than I'm probably ever going to use, and it's at a great price. And yeah, so again, for my finish up, it would definitely be from the scientific end. This Casio here, $10, and this one when you want to step up, if you want to have your evergreen calculator here, your complex, evergreen advanced calculator, definitely going to go with the Casio FX-CG50. Hey, I appreciate you guys for watching. I'll catch you in the next one.